Hello and welcome to episode 50 of the Wisdom from the Akasha podcast. My name is Susie. I am your host and I am an Akashic Records teacher and practitioner. Before I get into today's episode, I just want to do a quick reminder that the level 3 training starts on the 23rd of January. If you aren't able to attend the classes live, do not panic. You will be given access to the recordings. I know sometimes from a time zone perspective, it can be a bit difficult to schedule everything in and keep everybody covered. So I just wanted to give you a reminder that that will be closing for registration soon. If you haven't started your studies with the Akashic Records, do not panic. On the 4th of February, I am going to be starting my next level 1 training. That's for complete beginners. And I know lots of you have signed up already for that one, so I'm really looking forward to seeing you live for level 1. I will pop a link into the show notes so you can have a look at all of my training options, and I look forward to seeing you all there. This week's episode, I wanted to cover one of the energetic themes for 2025 that the Akashic Records gave me. For those of you who haven't already read my blog post that details the energies of 2025, I will pop a link to that in the show notes. So please do go ahead and you'll see each of the themes listed there. And what I want to do on the podcast is to go into some of these themes in a little bit of a deeper way so that you have an understanding and some tips and some practices to help you navigate through the energies of 2025. It's going to be quite a challenging year, but challenging years are ultimately for our growth and evolution. We all have everything we need within us. So I don't want anyone to panic when they hear it's going to be a challenging year. I want you to be educated and prepared and to know how to navigate through this type of energy the best that you can. If you check the energy report, you'll see I talk about the move from solar plexus chakra domination to heart chakra domination. And you'll see that I have called this episode The Journey from Head to Heart. For those of you who know your chakras, you might be thinking, okay, this doesn't make sense. Why are we talking about the solar plexus chakra and the head when the solar plexus chakra is located just above the belly button? So I want to explain why these two things are the same thing. One is looking at it from an energetic perspective and one is looking at it from a more human perspective. You'll hear a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about the journey from the head to the heart being the longest journey that there is. And I would completely agree with that from the perspective of the move from being attached to, identified with, and connected to our thought process and our ego through our thought process and our mind, moving from that to a more heart-centered existence, so a more surrendered approach, is extremely difficult. And I want to talk to you today about the energetics of it so you can feel into when this comes up for you, which will hopefully enable you to live a more heart-centered life and to allow things to fall away as they will as you make this transition. The heart chakra at this time of our soul's evolution is the midpoint of our development. What I mean by midpoint is if you imagine a figure of 8 being put over the body, the heart is where that midpoint of the figure of 8 is, which means the heart is the point at which the upward spiritualization energies and the downward materialization energies where they meet, where they converge. So the heart chakra is not only the powerhouse for the transmutation of the energetic stagnation that we store in those lower 3 primary chakras, but it's also the place where we receive wisdom and guidance from higher evolutionary beings and energies. We receive it into those higher chakras and we translate it through the heart. Okay, so the heart chakra is extremely important at this time. In the membership meeting this month, I am going to be doing a whole workshop on the heart chakra. I have already done full workshops on the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. And if you want to join that, you're completely able to do so. You'll be able to join the live heart chakra meeting, and you'll also be able to catch up on the recordings of those previous workshops. They are very in-depth, and I'm going to go into the heart chakra a lot more over there than I am today. Otherwise, we're going to be here for a very long time. But I just wanted to reiterate that the importance of understanding, connecting to, and working with the heart chakra is of paramount importance in respect of the evolution of our soul and our consciousness at this time. So where does the solar plexus chakra come into all of this, and how is this connected to our mind and our ego? When we look at the light grid in the Akashic Records, it is composed of our 7 energy bodies, and those 7 energy bodies are reflected in the 7 primary chakras. Of course, we have more than 7 chakras, but we identify the status of and the health of those different energy bodies, oftentimes through the health of those 7 primary chakras. So, for example, level 2 of the light grid is what we would call the emotional body. Now, if you have done any work with the primary chakras, and specifically here the sacral chakra, the 2nd primary chakra, you will know that oftentimes when we are looking at repressed emotions or subconscious, it often shows up as an imbalance in the sacral chakra. And when you start to work to get the sacral chakra into balance, you'll find you're doing lots of shadow work. You're moving through emotions that you have repressed throughout the lifetime. And that is because the sacral chakra is representative of the 2nd level of the light grid, which is the emotional body. When we come to be able to feel all of our emotions, the ones that we are comfortable with, as well as the ones that we are uncomfortable with, this is how we bring that sacral chakra into balance. If you want to do some work in respect of balancing your chakras, understanding the different energy bodies, this is where level 1 will come in. In level 1, we look at not only receiving information and guidance from the Akashic Records, but also to be able to do this type of energy work for yourself. Working with the light grid and the 7 primary chakras and other chakras is what we are doing when we do Akashic Records clearing. And if you're unsure as to what that is, I will link a previous episode that I did specifically on Akashic clearing for you to go and have a listen to. Level 3 of the light grid is the mental body. And this, of course, is connected to the solar plexus chakra. So when we look at it from the Akashic perspective and we look at the light grid, the health and relationship to the mental body of the client can be seen in the level 3 of the light grid, the mental body, and also reflected in the solar plexus chakra. So when somebody has an imbalanced solar plexus chakra, they will often have a strong identification to their mental body, their ego, their mind. From a spiritual development perspective, the solar plexus chakra and the mental body tends to be one that either spiritual people try to avoid completely because of its connection to our ego, or they will get very stuck in the solar plexus chakra level of spiritual development because they will get very attached to the modern day teachings around law of attraction and manifestation. Now, I want to say here, if you're somebody who is in the stage of really trying to work with manifestation, law of attraction, and all of those things, it's completely okay. It's a normal doorway into your spiritual development. But what you see when you move from a solar plexus chakra dominant level of consciousness into a heart chakra dominant level of consciousness is you move from I am the creator of my own reality, my thoughts create my own reality, which often these teachings are really focusing on, to I'm a co-creator of reality. It can be very difficult for people, especially if you've experienced very difficult things throughout your life to move into heart chakra dominance, because it does require surrender. And I'll talk about surrender more in a different episode. But I just want you to understand that on the spiritual journey, the solar plexus is often one that kind of either gets skipped over, or it's a place where people get stuck. And what's going to happen in 2025 is you're going to be asked to move beyond that solar plexus level of consciousness. Connecting into solar plexus chakra level of consciousness is actually a really good thing, because it's that first step into individuation and sovereignty. It's the first step of being an actual individual from an energetic perspective. When somebody is in the root chakra or sacral chakra level of consciousness, they're still part of what can be seen as a hive mind mentality. So, not thinking for themselves, not critically thinking, not independently feeling into, okay, is this what I want? So, what happens a lot at the solar plexus level is it's very much about getting to know thyself and understanding what your values are, what your goals are, how you want to move forward in the world based on what you actually want, hopefully from a soul's desire perspective. Most of the time at the solar plexus level, it's only to do with what the ego wants. But I want you to understand that it's completely necessary to go through this level, because it is that individuation and sovereignty. It is that becoming an individual. Now, I know you're going to hear a lot in the spiritual community about, we just need to dissolve the ego, we just need to let the ego go. And at a higher level of spiritual teachings, that is true. However, you have to first have an ego and an understanding of your individuation to be able then to release it and let it go. And that is what the solar plexus chakra level is about. So you'll often find when you're working at solar plexus chakra level that you are becoming this individual, you're breaking programs, you're deconstructing programming and conditioning, and you're moving into this strength of sovereignty. This is where radical self-responsibility comes in. This is where it's a case of, okay, even though these things happened to me, even though this was the family I chose to be born into, even though all of this stuff happened, I no longer choose to be a victim of my circumstances. I actually want to have a say in how this incarnation goes. It's a very powerful stage. The problem a lot of people have at this stage is, whilst they've been able to disidentify with their emotions, so they understand that when anger arises, it's an emotion arising, it's not them. Okay. What happens at this stage is people can't do that with their thought process. So when they are having thoughts, they believe that those thoughts are there. They are not focused on the observer of those thoughts. And it can take a little bit longer at this stage to be able to disidentify and detach from those thought processes. To make things even more complicated, of course, is when you are looking at and working with your thought processes, your mental body, this body is also coming under the influence of thought bubbles, as we call them in the Akashic Records. And when you are vibrating at a certain frequency, so for example, if you're vibrating at a frequency of fear, you're going to connect to thought bubbles. In the thought bubble of fear is every single fearful thought that anybody has ever had. And you end up in this loop of communication with this thought bubble. And part of this stage, this solar plexus chakra stage, is disconnecting from those thought bubbles that you are attached to and connecting to new thought bubbles based on the vibration. So there's a lot of work that goes into the solar plexus chakra level. For those of you who are in the membership and you want to go a little bit deeper into that process of thought bubbles and how they work, please go and take a look at the root chakra workshop that we did. In there, I talk a lot about thought bubbles, and I'm going to be talking about them more throughout 2025 and deprogramming and deconditioning itself in the membership. The health of that mental body and that solar plexus chakra, whether it's balanced or imbalanced, is based on the thought processes, the mental processes. And of course, as I've identified numerous times on this podcast, we are constantly bombarded not just by thought bubbles, but also by external influences. Our world at this moment in time is very distracting. So there is always another podcast episode to listen to, another YouTube video to watch, social media to scroll on, Netflix to watch. And I really want to reiterate the fact that none of these things are bad in and of themselves. Okay? You are here to have a human experience, and enjoying all of the things that the human experience has to offer is also a very spiritual thing to do. But what I want you to understand is that because of this move in 2025 from solar plexus to heart chakra that lots of you will be calling to be moved into, you're going to find that that neutral time that I talk about is ever more important during this year. Disconnecting from the noise and the distractions and spending that time with yourself. The heart chakra and the connection to the heart chakra can be understood on a mental level to a certain degree, but it has to be experienced. Okay? The connection to your internal Christ consciousness, your internal light, happens through the heart chakra. And you can read every single book that has ever existed on these topics and still not experience it for yourself. When you do experience it for yourself, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll understand why I'm saying the descriptions of the information of pale in comparison to the experience of. For those of you who have been working on deepening and strengthening this connection to the heart chakra throughout 2024 and perhaps earlier, you're going to find that you're going to be much more drawn to the higher heart chakra. So think of the higher heart chakra as the higher version of the heart chakra. Heart chakra tends to be connected to fourth dimensional energy. Higher heart chakra is fifth dimensional energy. And what this shift represents from an energetic perspective is the move from love to unconditional love. You may find yourself throughout 2025 really feeling into, okay, I've connected to love. I can love those people who I like. I can love my pets. I can love my partner. But can I unconditionally love people who upset me, people who disturb my peace? This will be a theme for you. And of course, that higher heart chakra provides a bridge into the throat chakra level. And throat chakra is all about authenticity. So again, if you've already been working on the heart chakra, you may find that 2025 is going to be all about really getting clear on and connecting to the authenticity, which of course is what you have established when you've been working at the solar plexus level, that getting clear on your values and what you want. The throat chakra is, okay, now that we've gotten clear on all of that, how true am I living in alignment with that? How much am I lying to myself? In relation to that, of course, the heart chakra provides that discernment and resonance that I always talk about. It provides that feeling of this is in alignment and this is out of alignment. But of course, you can't get to feeling into, is this in or out of alignment with me, if you don't know who you are, solar plexus chakra. It's extremely important that that clarity is ascertained during the time of the solar plexus chakra dominance, because when you get into the heart chakra and you start developing discernment and resonance, what starts to happen is you start to connect into new guides, which is really exciting, new energies. But you have to be able to discern, is this energy of the evolutionary stream or is this energy of the devolutionary stream? Because at the level of heart chakra dominance, you are still connecting into the astral plane, and the astral plane has both the evolutionary and the devolutionary stream present. I think from today's episode, you can see that 2025 is going to be a big year for you in respect of your own development, in respect of what's going to go on in the external to help us really dig into these things for ourselves. But I just wanted to remind everybody, no matter where you are in your spiritual journey, please remember that you have everything you need within you. That doesn't mean you can't reach out to other people for support. You can't find your communities. You can't ask for help. That's completely okay. And I definitely recommend getting help and support through some of these things. But I don't want anyone to feel as though, oh, there's so much work to do and there's so little time. Your soul, as I will always say, is never in a hurry. If you ever feel like you're in a hurry, that things should be happening faster, that is always just the ego talking. Okay, so take the pressure off. Let life itself be your teacher. Pay attention to what is coming up in respect of your relationships, your career, all areas of your life, and use that as the material for your spiritual practice and your spiritual development. I look forward to seeing you all next week for the next episode.